If y'all couldn't tell from the videos, I really do bleed Spelman blue, and here I am, Ahoya, we still blue. So what can I say? I am not here by my own strength. I'm not here by my own intelligence. It really is the grace of the Lord. Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. This is the long-awaited how did I get into Georgetown law school video. I'm definitely gonna make more videos about like the preparation for law school, because especially for all my first gen law students, first gen lawyers, first off, shout out to y'all for creating new legacies in your families. That being said, if you plan to go straight through from college, you definitely need to start early. Just start early. That's my number one tip. But this video isn't going to be a tips video. It's going to be about my journey to getting to Georgetown. And I do want to preface that this is my journey. Even if you do exactly what I do, it is not an exact guarantee. And I will also say that I am not here by my own strength. I'm not here by my own intelligence. It really is the grace of the Lord. It is His favor over my life. He's the reason that I am here today at Georgetown. Okay, so in this video, I'm going to be going over my stats, extracurriculars that I did, my essay, and then an addendum and what I kind of wrote about. Again, this isn't going to be an extensive tips video. I will make a separate video about that. But knowing me, I think I might just drop some little tips here and there so y'all get to have it in this video too. So to start off my stats, if you did not know, now you know. First off, you can't even see that, but that's a little like Spelman magnet. If you didn't know, I went to Spelman College. I didn't just went, I graduated, and I didn't just graduate, I graduated with honors. And I didn't just graduate with honors. I graduated the top of my class, and not even just the top of my class, I was valedictorian. There were 4 of us. Shout out the 4. Love y'all so much. I didn't go into college thinking I'm gonna be the valedictorian. I'm trying to do this, I'm trying to do that. My goal was just to simply try my best each semester, and one thing led to another and ended up being valedictorian. So what that means my GPA was a 4.0. Now, this LSAT was a different story, and that could be a video within itself, because if you saw my getting into Georgetown video, like I was filming behind the scenes of me studying and everything, and every day was not easy. I did hit a plateau, and then, I'm going in thinking like, okay, I'm outshining it. Like, I put in that work, da-da-da-da. I get my score back, and I'm just like, oh, okay. Heard you. It definitely hit my ego a little bit. My score was not terrible. Like, in the grand scheme of things, when you get your LSAT score, you are ranked in the percentile, but the percentile is based off of that month's exam. So I'm only ranked against all January 2024 exams. I received a 156 on the LSAT, and I only took it one time. Again, I'll do a whole video about why I only took it one time. I don't recommend that for like everybody, but my faith really grew throughout this entire process because I was relying on the Lord to lift me up, because I was like, okay, I'm not gonna take it again. I'm gonna need your help to not only like get me into law school, but get me through. And here we are in the middle of second semester, first year. I'm almost done with 1L, and I think that's absolutely crazy. Like, wow. And His grace, His strength has been getting me through. So shout out to God for that. All admission counselors are going to say the same thing, like, oh, it's a holistic approach. And it is. There are people who have top GPAs, who have top scores, who still don't get into top schools. So I don't want that to discourage anyone. I will say, because my GPA is really high, I think it does offset. If you have like any weak areas of your application, just make sure everything else is strong. So if you have a high GPA and your LSAT score is not super high, like, I think you're going to be okay. And then vice versa, there are people who don't have really high GPAs, but their LSAT scores are stellar and they're really high. And then shoot, if you got both, get both. The goal is to get both. So as far as extracurriculars, if you know me, I was an ambassador. Like, if y'all couldn't tell from the videos, I really do bleed Spelman blue, and here I am, Ahoya, we still blue. So what can I say? I absolutely love Spelman, so much so that I wanted to share my love of Spelman with prospective students, whether it was virtual, in person, we're giving a tour, we're at an event. I absolutely loved it. So I was an ambassador since my freshman year, and then my junior and senior year, I became vice president of an organization. And that's like my little tip. I would say that not only join different organizations, but join something that you're passionate about. And when you stay in an organization for a long period of time, whether it's all 4 years, 3 years, even just 2 years, it shows that you're loyal, shows that you're dependable, and it shows your passion about that one thing. But to take it to the next level, apply for that e-board position, like to show that not only am I just a member of the group, but I'm also leading something in the group. So that's my little piece of advice. And I did that with all of my organizations for the most part. So I was an ambassador. I also did mentoring, and I wasn't on the e-board of that, but being a mentor in itself is a leadership position. So it's all about how you tell your story, but you are being a leader. And I do want to say, you don't have to have a leadership title to be a leader. There are a lot of people with titles who aren't leading anything. So let me just say that. So even if you don't have that leadership title, you being an involved member of not only your school community, but the greater community outside of like your school, like wherever, if it's helping out the city that your college is in, if you're helping out with your church, things like that. But make sure that you're telling your story and you put that like on your resume, or you put that in the questions where it talks about things that you've done outside of school. This is all shaping who you are. When they're doing the holistic review of an applicant, they want to be able to like really know you. And not all schools do interviews. Georgetown does do an interview. So I was able to talk to the dean, but at the same time, the interview that I had wasn't like a, hey, so like tell me about yourself. Like it was very different. So because you don't always get that FaceTime like with the admissions counselor, you want them to see who you are, and your extracurriculars can shed light into that, and also your essay. So take your time with that. But again, you don't have to have a leadership title. It's what are you actually doing? Whose lives are you actually impacting? And if you let them know that, you don't have to be president to impact someone's life. So I just want to say that. So yes, I was a mentor, and then I also was part of the pre-law society. I did that since freshman year, and then my senior year, I was co-social chair. So again, like I didn't do a leadership position every single year, but I was a part of that same group for a long time. So that shows what I had mentioned earlier, that like, okay, I'm passionate about the law and I'm eager and all those things. And then my senior year, when I had the capacity to do so, also, that's just a side note, make sure you're doing leadership positions that you have the capacity to put forth your best effort. You don't want to just be leader of all these different types of clubs, but then you're burnt out and then your grades suffer. Like, you know, you got to be reasonable with yourself. And I knew I couldn't really do that my junior year because I wanted to focus on the ambassadors. And once I got a good handle on the ambassadors, I was like, okay, let me add this one more thing for senior year. So that's kind of how I did a lot of my extracurriculars. And then, of course, I was involved in my church. I danced in my church. I volunteered. I would say those are my main three: ambassadors, mentor for Gifted Girls of Grace, and then I was part of the Morehouse Spelman Pre-Law Society. Now, my favorite part, the essay, y'all. And for all of this stuff that I'm saying, I hope you learn to start early. So if you are a junior in college and you want to go straight through to law school, start now. Start studying for the LSAT your junior year. That gives you ample time. You can definitely take it your senior year, but I will say you want to be able to enjoy your senior year. It's just a lot going on. I think fall semester in the beginning, because you're trying to get all your applications in, that was a lot. But when homecoming hit, I was chilling. Like, I was cool. And then by that time, I got into Georgetown. That was my number one. So I really was sitting pretty. So start early so you can enjoy your last year of college. Your future self will thank you. So now the essay. I started writing my essay the summer before my senior year. So I was working on this. I also reached out to one of my former professors, and he was an English professor. Absolutely loved him. Shout out to Dr. Edwards. And he went over like my essay. I sent him different drafts. We had deadlines. We met basically almost every 2 weeks just to like, as we're working through my different essays. Now I had 3 essays that I wrote for Georgetown. So I had my personal statement, and then I also had it's It's not diversity essay because we no longer can use those words, but it's an essay that just talks about, is there anything else you want us to know about you? And a lot of institutions do this. So this isn't just a Georgetown thing. All my schools wanted this extra essay. But if you're able to do the optional essays, do an optional essay. Because it's optional, not everyone's going to do it, and that sets you apart. And I do think that adds, not only is showing your interest in the school, but it's just saying like, okay, this person is serious. Like, okay, they really want us to know who they are. So my personal statement, I talked about why I was interested in being a lawyer and like going to law school. A lot of people's personal statements are kind of centered around the why. Think back to your life and when that moment was. For me, I was 16, I was in high school, and I talked about that very moment. And then I also talked about how that same 16-year-old like never really left my mind. Like, I was always curious about the law. So in college, I pursued different things, and that led me to where I am now. So like, I kind of took them on a journey through the first time I fell in love with the law and why I still love it. Now, some people may say a different experience, like if you have a more personal connection, maybe you have lawyers in your family, maybe you've got tired of the injustice you just kept seeing in society, whatever it may be. I will say, make sure your personal statement and all your essays are about you. Sometimes we can get caught up in writing about who our heroes are, or who our mentors are, or that person that really shaped our life. And like, that's why I want to, be a lawyer. But you talk so much about that other person. We know more about that person, but we don't know about you. And that person's already a lawyer. So we can't really admit that person anymore. Or like, that person may not be a lawyer, but like, now we know so much about your grandpa. We know so much about your aunt. That's cool. I'm sure they're great, but who are you? So make sure that you are still the center of your essay. And just think about your why. And honestly, your why is going to keep you, because as I'm in the midst of my first year, you have a lot of questions, and it gets hard, and you're like, man, do I really want to do this? Like, am I sure? And when you think back of your why, it keeps you. And yeah, I actually recently kind of like skimmed over my personal statement, and I was like, wow. And the way that I always end up referring back to it, like during interviews, when I'm talking to people like, oh, so why law school? And I'm like, well, actually it started, I got to take you back to sophomore year. I got to take you back to when I was in AP Gov and politics. I want you to go back to this mind. Like, that is my why. And I hold on to that when I go through this challenging semester, when things aren't making sense, when you go through the finals and you're just like, oh my gosh, when will it end? It's going to be worth it. Because I've always wanted to be a lawyer, and I don't see myself doing anything else. So when I'm able to do that, it keeps me going, because I'm like, okay, I'm one step closer to doing what I want to do. So my diversity essay was about who I was beyond being a Black woman. I'm very proud to be Black. I love being a Black woman. I just talked about the self-discovery that I had, because K through 12, I was always one of two Black girls in my classes. And then coming to Spelman, we all smart Black girls. And I'm like, oh, like, what's going on here? Like, who am I? Like, do I have this title anymore? Like, and I started to learn more about myself. And this is also just a plug, like, for people who say HBCUs do not prepare you, they're lying to you. Do not listen to them. They definitely, the type of transformation and the growth that happens at HBCU is just truly unmatched. In a world that is anti-Black, going to an HBCU was like the best decision. And now that I'm entering different spaces that are predominantly white, I have this confidence that I know I belong here. I know I deserve to be here, and all those things. So yes, my essay was really about like who Camille was. And overall, when I was writing my different essays, I wanted to emphasize Black joy. So yeah, that's what I wanted to focus on. I wanted them to see who I was. So my personal statement, they learned about why I was interested in law and where that came from. The second one, they learned like, okay, who is Camille? Okay, we see that, she went to Spelman. We know that she's a Black girl, but like, who is she? And everyone has to do the personal statement. I would encourage you to do the tell us anything else about yourself / diversity statement. Do those two bare minimum. But if they have an additional thing, go ahead and write that one. I think it's really going to set you apart. And I like the topics that Georgetown had. Like, they want to just see who you are, like, as a person, and really kind of get a feel for your personality. You could also do a video. The topic I chose was the best or worst piece of advice. I talked about the best piece of advice. For me, I mentioned how I interned on Capitol Hill with Congressman John Sarbanes, and there was a piece of advice that he gave me. And his advice was to not get too attached to titles. And I talked about how I was like, that's crazy. Like, he has such a prominent title. What does he mean by that? And that's something that I heard from him my freshman year. I'm 19 at the time, one of the youngest people like in my office. Not even one of, I was the youngest person in my office. And I happened to be the youngest in almost every room that I enter. But I recognize that titles are fleeting, and you lose your why as you're pursuing things. You start to pursue resume builders, and you don't pursue things that actually drive you, that actually push you, that you're actually passionate about. So yeah, that's what I shared in that essay. And then I tied it to Georgetown, and I said, I'm going to pursue my passions boldly. I want to do this program here. And that's where you get to really show everything you know about the school, like what clinics that you want to do, what professors you want to work with, all those things, because it really shows like, okay, like, she did research at our school, like they serious about this. So yeah, that's my essay. The last thing I did, y'all, I wrote another thing. I know I said 3 essays, but I did write an addendum. Now, an addendum completely, not only is it optional, you should only do it when it makes sense. Usually you have an addendum if you want to explain any gaps, like in your resume, if you want to explain a low test score or a low GPA. It's like, maybe you were going through a lot as like throughout college, or maybe you were going through something like when you took that first exam, so then you had to take it again, just in case, like if you had a low score, then all of a sudden it shot back up, if you want to clear that up. But the fact that you are a bad test taker, you don't waste your time writing an addendum on that. And an addendum is really short. It's like a paragraph. So it's short, it's sweet, wrap it up. How I chose to do my addendum was talking about my interest in Georgetown, and I documented my interactions with the school as well as my visits. So Dean Andy came to speak to Morehouse and Spelman when I was a sophomore. So I talked about in 2022. That's so crazy. Like, we are in 2026 now. But I was like, yeah, 2022, he came and talked to us, and it piqued my interest. Then in 2023, he came back, talked to us again. I mentioned that. And then I actually toured Georgetown in 2024. It was during my spring break, and I mentioned the people that I met, and I was like, I really enjoyed it, and I knew that this would be a place that I would thrive in, especially because I fell in love with like the people that I met, the faculty, the staff. They really are here to encourage you. They really push you, and it kind of felt like a family in some way. And nothing is gonna beat my Spelman family. Nothing's gonna beat going to HBCU, but I love that I was able to feel like a similar thing here. So that's what I expressed in my addendum. And yeah. Hey y'all, editing Camille here, and clearly I'm back home. So if you recognize this background, you've been rocking with me and my channel for a minute, so I thank you and appreciate your support. The reason why I'm on here is because I realized I didn't talk about my work experience, so let me fill y'all in. I did work for Congressman Sarbanes on Capitol Hill. The next summer, I worked at United Airlines in their government affairs office, and then I came back summer 2024. And then I also was a 2023-2024 White House HBCU scholar. Okay, y'all, this video, who knows how long it's going to be. I definitely been yapping a little bit, but I hope this helps. I know a lot of people have asked me, like, how did you get in? All these things. That is just what I did on paper. And I will also say this was a lot of prayer. This was a lot of faith. This is a lot of stuff that God was moving behind the scenes. Like, I did my part, God did the rest. And with that, thank you guys so much for watching this video. I hope it helps someone. If you have any questions, definitely feel free to comment them down below. Reach out to me. I'm more than welcome to help. And I will be making a specific tips video about things I did, the timeline of it all. I mentioned a little bit here, but I want to go into more detail in that video. So stay tuned for that. Okay, bye y'all.